Hearing about Sony screwing over more developers isn't unfortunately surprising. I really wish that it was because that means that they wouldn't have a bad reputation, but they do, and that's the situation that we're in. I talked about Sony a lot here on the channel. They're giant hypocrites, but now there's a pretty big new situation regarding a remake for The Last of Us 1 and them screwing over new development studios. So I'm going to be referencing a Forbes article. There is a new report that says Sony is remaking The Last of Us, maybe doing a new Uncharted, but at a cost. This morning, there's a new piece out that lays out the strategy of Sony going forward for what it hopes will be its next PlayStation hits, but one that may come at a cost of the kind of studios it once cultivated. I used to be a really huge Sony fangirl. They just have an eye for amazing games. They know what their audience wants, but unfortunately, they've really changed over the past couple of years, and I don't really support them that much anymore. I really dislike them now, but they used to be amazing. They have put out amazing games in the past, but it's situations like we're going to read that made me fall out of love with Sony and also PlayStation. So it says the big news items in this piece are twofold: that there will be a remake of the original Last of Us, and that a new Uncharted game may be coming, in addition to the already announced Naughty Dog multiplayer title that everyone believes is The Last of Us 2 Factions. The problem, the focus of the piece is how Bend Studio, a rising star who made Days Gone, was almost borderline absorbed into Naughty Dog, working on a new Uncharted and the multiplayer game, and Days Gone, despite being profitable, does not appear to be getting a sequel from the team. This is really disheartening for this team to hear, I'm sure. The fact that, first of all, they created Days Gone, and Days Gone wasn't like a giant hit for Sony, but it was a game that did relatively well, I'd say. I personally didn't play it. I watched a lot of gameplay on it. It looked really boring in my opinion. If you love it, good for you. It just wasn't my type of game, but apparently this team was looking forward to a sequel. They were originally told they were going to be able to do a sequel, and now that it's time to reevaluate the situation, they've finished up other projects and they're able to make a sequel, Sony has kind of cut the cord with the sequel and has said, nope, you are not going to be doing a sequel for this game, which is, I'm sure, really heartbreaking for these developers. They created a new IP, it did sell well, and now they can't create, number 2 that a lot of people probably were looking forward to. It said despite this conflict, they were eventually taken off of the new Uncharted game, and are making a different game. It says the overall gist of the piece is that Sony's relentless focus on mega hit blockbusters is creating some tension. Obviously, we have to consider that Sony wants to have the next best game. They want to make money, but they can't just be taking these opportunities away from small developers. I'm going to finish this and then kind of give my deep thoughts on this. It says another new group was meant to be a new development studio, pitched a solo game, but it wasn't impressive enough, and they were put on a Last of Us remake instead. This is clearly a case of Sony screwing over more developers here, and we see what they just did to their Japan studio. I have talked about it in past videos, but they shut down their Japan studio, saying they wanted to restructure to a global PlayStation studio, and a ton of big names that were developers on games and directors on games like Demon's Souls and The Last Guardian completely left. Sony's given up on their home market, and Japanese players are furious with them, and we heard that because Sony's been on a censorship streak and they've been closing their Japanese studios to change them into global teams, apparently they've been on a massive decline in the region, and it's not that surprising when you see the things that they've been doing just like this. People don't want developers to be treated like garbage, because then you don't get good games. You keep getting, bottom of the barrel cookie cutter games. You need to have developers who are passionate about their work, and when there's no passion, there's no creativity. So Sony has done a great job cultivating studios into ones that have grown and produced mega hits for them, like Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima. But now the plan appears to be for all of those games to get sequels, in addition to the continuation of franchises like Uncharted and God of War. It's pretty obvious why Sony wants to do this, why they want to keep creating God of War games, Uncharted games, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, because it makes them them money. You can't really blame Sony for wanting to continue these franchises because they're so popular. I mean, I fell in love with Ghost of Tsushima, one of my favorite games ever. Spider-Man was really great. The God of War series, Uncharted series, they're all very good. So it's clear that they just want to make money, but when you don't allow new development teams or small development teams to kind of be creative and create the games that they want when you've promised them they could, it ruins a lot of that creativity that they have, and we end up just continuing to get the same games. Eventually, people are going to get sick of God of Wars. We're going to be on the 12th God of War, and people will be sick of it. People will be sick of Spider-Man games eventually. You are going to wear down your consumers if you only stick to the big mega hit franchises. There needs to be, more creativity and more unique games coming out, or else people are going to get sick of these games, and then maybe the next time you put out a console, if Sony puts out another console, people aren't going to buy the console for your big mega hit franchises because everyone's going to be bored of them. It says, in short, the idea conveyed is that perhaps Bender, this new studio, could have been the next one of those to break out, but instead were tasked with supporting an already sprawling giant like Naughty Dog. Now, I hate what Naughty Dog has become and everything Naughty Dog's done to the Last of Us franchise. They're a group of activists who turned a game political, and instead of giving everyone a fair chance, they only highlight the issues they think are important. I hate the direction they've taken themselves in, but what we're seeing here is a bigger issue than just one game or a single developer. It's how Sony as a corporation is acting. They're basically playing with developers like they're sacrificial chess pieces. I fully recognize devs start on projects and that they don't end up doing the work that they need to do, or the work that the publisher wanted, and this happens, but look at Sony's track record here. They've been treating developers like crap for a very long time via telling third-party developers, this is the type of content you can and can't have in your games on our platform, or by directly closing down studios and moving first-party projects around. It says, I'm not sure quite how much I read into this. I mean, Sony has a pretty good track record of transforming smaller studios into Game of the Year contender producers. But it's hardly a guarantee every studio makes the exact journey in the exact same way, and it seems like other studios may be taking a few detours or two. It says, in the end, I'm not sure how surprising all of this is. Sony has produced mega-hit blockbusters, and they want to continue to make mega-hit blockbusters, many of which will be sequels to the originals. This is unfortunately not very surprising. This is just typical Sony being overbearing and controlling. Look, this is the same type of attitude we actually haven't seen from Microsoft, who's made a lot of purchases of studios like Obsidian, In Exile, and now Bethesda. Microsoft hasn't acted this way towards their newly acquired devs, and from what we can see, all of these devs are still freely working on their own projects, and things that they're working on aren't being, what's the best way to put this, like passed around or stripped down or canceled like Sony's doing. It looks like Microsoft's saying, what are you guys working on? How much is it gonna cost? What are you doing next? Okay, let's do it. As far as we know, they're just letting the devs do their jobs, and obviously something could be going on behind the scenes, but from the outside looking in, we don't see any of that. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Sony being typical Sony, pulling more BS with developers. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.